Welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. My name is Jerome Lewis. I'm your host for today. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is the podcast where we talk marketing, tech, business, and leadership. We talk these things for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast that has two purposes. Purpose number one, to educate and inform our audience and listeners. Purpose number two, Bill, to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. With that, we have a very special guest, Bill Griggs. Bill's journey of exploration began in his teenage years when he had a memorable conversation with his father. They discussed Bill's multitude of desired activities and his tendency to dabble in various pursuits. His father, with a smile of indulgence, remarked, "Son, you are a shotgun. You hit a little bit of everything you aim at. If you become an arrow, you will be dangerous." This comment left a lasting impression on Bill, shaping his approach to taking on new projects with focused determination. While Bill endeavors to stay focused on his current projects, he embraces the allure of new, shiny things that often captivate his attention. However, he remains committed to channeling his energy into completing each endeavor to the best of his abilities. As an avid explorer of maker websites, Bill spends the majority of his online time delving into imaginative and creative projects. His fascination with the ingenuity and passion displayed by makers worldwide has led him to engage in conversations, connecting with them on a social level. Through these interactions, Bill lives vicariously through makers, gaining inspiration and insights that fuel his own creative pursuits. Join us as we uncover the remarkable world of Bill Griggs, a passionate curator of interesting and revolutionary projects. With his keen eye for unique endeavors, Bill scours the web to find captivating stories to share and discuss. If you have a distinctive project that deserves recognition, don't hesitate to reach out to Bill at billgriggs@makermasters.com. Bill, I'm excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jerome. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited and happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Bill, like reading your bio, a couple of things jumped out to me, and one of those things was the maker websites. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. There's been a movement for folks for probably the last 10, 15 years called the maker movement, where a lot of us want to make things ourselves that we can't find or that we have difficulty or that are too expensive. So we go out and we find ways and find the knowledge to make them ourselves, and we share that knowledge with each other. So this includes woodworking, metalworking. I mean, you see the model airplanes up top here is some of the things that we do, and we just focus on it. And
Okay,
there's a lot
all
of
right.
crossover.
That makes sense. So, like reading your bio, can you tell us like how you take us through Bill's journey, like how you got to where you got to, like the maker websites and some of the stuff that you do currently, like what pushed you in the direction? We heard a little bit about your father. Give us some more insight.
Well, I was a manufacturer of model airplane kits. I was making kits available for radio controlled airplanes for folks. I'd design them and make them. I kind of came into that when I showed the original design of one of my planes at a competition. Somebody said that they liked it, and did I have plans? Well, I'd never learned how to draw plans, and so I went out and I learned how to draw plans. And then when I went to the next meet, somebody says, "That's great. Can I have the parts that go into that?" And I'd never made parts, and so I went and I learned how to do that. So it's always, for me, a case of finding a need or a problem, filling that problem by using education to get there. So this was the early days of the internet, and many of the things that I was doing weren't published or weren't out there where folks could find them. And so I didn't want other people to have the problems that I was having finding information. So I gave them a shortcut by writing down what I did and documenting it. And that's the whole maker movement. That's the whole thing. You wondered how that was made once? Well, here's how I did it.
Okay. So the maker, so you said you explored things and you started to write things down yourself. And something else that you mentioned that I want to hear you talk about is like you said the internet. Like, tell us about the times before the internet and when you started to explore stuff.
Yeah. back when I got started in the model airplane kits, this was in the late 80s, early 90s. The internet was brand new. There was no such thing as uh, what we use today. Everything was dial-up. There was no high-speed internet, so it was very difficult to find information. So we were one of the first folks in our area to get internet access, with high speed. And so and along with that came the ability to put up a web page. And that's what got me started. I said, "Ooh, this is really cool. Let me see this." And this, it goes back to that whole shotgun arrow thing. It was a pretty cool thing that I was distracted with. And so I went and I learned and I taught myself how to build a website. And I put my airplane kits up on a website and they began to sell. And that led me to e-commerce, which was totally different back in the day because you had to get hooked up with a payment processing service, which I did. And then I put that up there and instantly sales tripled because people spend more with a credit card. It was a shortcut that nobody really knew about, but I wanted to share with others. And so, fast forward and we have, Etsy and we have Shopify and we have all these programs that weren't available when I got started, but they are now. And it's just a matter of finding out what it is that you need to do things, because you only need three things in an online business. You need a product, you need a way to get paid, and you need a way to be found. And if you can apply those three things to any business, real estate particularly, it comes in there. The product is the house that's on the market. The way to get paid is either through your commissions as the seller, buyer, whatever, and the way to be found. Well, that comes down nowadays to your web presence, your advertising, your contacts with others. So I just trying to bring it in a little bit so that it's useful to your listeners. But,
Got you. I want to go a little bit deeper on that, but before we go there, something that you mentioned, and I'm finding that people really struggle with currently, is like information, right? So when you were doing this, you're like, there wasn't enough information out there. Nowadays, I guess I don't know how many years later, there's too much information out there.
Yeah.
And it's something that you mentioned is like shortcuts. So like, what are some tips or some input for people that's like, look, there's so much information out there. I need a shortcut. What's the shortcut? How do I do this, Bill? What is your input? What is your perspective on that for people that are overwhelmed? Because that's the biggest thing that I find right now. People are like, I got everything that I need, but I don't know which one. Like, how do I shortcut the process?
Probably two of the biggest shortcuts are a course on whatever it is that you're having. And the most effective shortcut is a mentor, somebody who's done it before, whether they're a paid coach or just someone that is willing to talk to you for 5 minutes about whatever it is that they're doing. That is invaluable because nothing beats life experience.
Okay. So you mentioned course, and then you mentioned mentor. Can you help us understand the difference between the two, the pros and cons of both, and what that looks like for you?
Mm-hmm. So a course is generally a step-by-step process that has been written down or is in video form or book form, whatever that form is, that will take you from a point where you know only the name of the topic to the point where you can actually execute and implement that knowledge that was shared in the course. And courses don't have to be long and cover everything. In fact, the best courses teach you how to do one thing and master that. And that is, it's hard to find those courses, but they're very effective. And, I've been the beneficiary of several of them. So, yeah.
Okay. So now tell us about a mentor and the importance of that. And like, how does a person determine like who is a mentor? where like who's going to help them, like how would you find a mentor?
Well, um, I wish there were a quick answer to that
Mhm.
question, how to find. Um, you have to be um, of like mind, like interest, and you have to be going to the same destination. It's very um, interesting. You and I both share a mentor in common, Doug Boughton, and I don't know if you've mentioned him before on your show, but Doug is an online marketer. He's probably one of the most genuine people that I know. He cares about what is happening not only in his business but with his students. And if you get a chance to take anything that Doug is offering, go ahead and take it, even if you don't see immediately how it's going to fit into your real estate um, journey. I guarantee you that he's got your back, and he will teach you what he knows and more than you were expecting. That's what really good mentors do. But you and I came to know each other through um, Doug's program, where we're both trying to implement the online marketing portion of it, where we're taking the skills that we know, you in your case, how people implement the strategies inside of real estate. And for me, it's how people um, go and create profitable businesses online in woodworking using CNC routers. Now, I'll explain what those are later, but the point is, both of those things can be done in a specific way, and Doug is showing us how he's done it, not theoretical stuff, but how he did it and is still continuing to do it. And every time he gets a new effective um, strategy, he shares it with us. That's what a real mentor does. You know,
Thank you for sharing that,
you're
Bill.
welcome.
So I want to go back to those three things that you mentioned to like have a successful business or profitable business. I can't remember, but
Mm-hmm.
the 3 points are product, payment, and you have to be found. And the way I look at it is I see like a product and a service, which in the case of
Mm-hmm.
like real estate people, it can be like what you're offering, like what problem you're going to solve. Then like for payment, it's like you said, you get paid from the transaction. And lastly, like you have to be found, which is marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about product in detail? And I would like for you to use yourself as a case study or as an example. Like you have a product, you have a service, you have something that you do for people. So help us understand the importance of a product and what product that you offer. Because I'm particularly interested in myself. I want to know what you do, like with the CNC routers, and I want to know how
Yeah.
it ties into like woodwork. So help us understand the product.
Okay. Um, Briefly, before I tell you what my product is,
Uh-huh.
um, I need to explain what a CNC router is.
Okay.
Okay. It's basically a machine that you can take a drawing that you create in software, load it in, put in material, and doing a little bit of programming. It's not writing code, but programming. It will recreate what it is that you drew into the wood, and it uses a router, which is a woodworking tool that spins a bit and cuts things. And so a CNC router is a computerized router that just goes and it cuts what you tell it to. So they're available all over the place, and it's like the table saw was to woodworking about 70 years ago. It was a revolution. Anyway, that is what CNC routers are, and why I'm fascinated with them. Um, when I got started, they were $100,000. Now you can buy one for about 1,000. So the things have changed a lot. The product I came up with, in my case, was a device that helps people who were using the CNC router. So you find a problem and you find a solution, and that's your product. It doesn't matter what, that is just a fact. So my thing was, I was noticing that people would put a piece of wood on the router table, and they'd go to make their cuts and go to make their project, and something might happen, like the power would go out. Okay, and so they've lost all this time that they've invested, because sometimes these projects can take hours and days to run. And when the power went out, they'd lose the position on the machine. They'd have no idea, what was going on, and they had no easy way to restart. Well, the device I created lets them store the starting position, or I'm going to really simplify this, store the starting position for this project so that they can recreate it. So if something went wrong, you can go back and restart using this device. So I created that, and I began marketing that. And it wasn't an expensive product. It was a $77 product. Okay. But through that product, I was able to generate enough income to pay off a $25,000 machine, a $5,000 machine, and then to buy other things beyond that. So, you can do the math. I'm not going to try that, but it was a steady producing product, and that was what I needed. It's not directly related to something that you would do on the CNC router, but it was something that solved the problem that everybody had. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a product, and in your case, like, you created a device that helps people solve a problem. Like, they were using like a particular tool, and that tool produced this problem. And you help, look, I'm going to help you resolve this problem, and in exchange for me helping you solve the problem, you're going to send me some money. Which leads to our next point, which is, you said you need a payment, like a way to take payment. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, I serve real estate agents, real estate investors, but I also help like general entrepreneurs. So that means like they don't only buy and sell houses, they also create courses, they also do coaching. So sometimes they need to understand the things that are involved in order for you to create a course or create some kind of product that you want people to buy. So can you help us understand like payments and payment processing?
Yeah, back in the old days when I first got started in model airplanes and things, if you wanted to get paid, somebody had to send you a check. Or if the amount was small enough, they would actually send you money in the mail in an envelope. And it would arrive in your mailbox, and you'd open it up, and there'd be money in your mailbox. Once credit card processing became more common, we had things like PayPal, Stripe, Cash App, Venmo, all of these ways that would allow you to receive a payment. Because if you can deliver a service and make it effortless for the person who you perform the service or deliver the product to pay you, they're going to pay you, and they're going to do it using these apps. So for the real estate professional, many times you don't get paid until the escrow closes at the end of this whole process, or the house closes. Well, how will you accept that money? Is it going to be a situation where you have to be at the closing and the banker hands you a cashier's check? Or do you have some electronic way that they can transfer the money to you, either through Stripe or PayPal or wire transfer or whatever? That's the way you've got to be thinking about it. Because if you can't get paid, you're going to be cash poor, and that's not the situation you're going for.
Thank you. So one of the things that you mentioned, and this is one of the problems that I help. This is one of the problems that I help solve. But yeah, like a lot of times us as real estate professionals, we don't get paid until after the fact.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if we could get paid a little bit before, right? We got to do marketing, we got to do all of this stuff, putting ourselves out there. What if we could get paid before we actually close a transaction? And that's why, like you see, like I got a book in the background, right?
Hmm.
People pay for books. So I help like my clients and anybody that comes through, I help them create a book. I help them create a course. I help them create things that people are actually willing to pay for,
Hmm.
and they pay them and they can use that money and they can get paid earlier in the transaction rather than waiting until after the fact. Because like you said, like most people know that the real estate professionals don't get paid until after they get paid
Yeah.
commission, and that's one of those problems that I'm solving. You can get rich. I'm not saying you will get rich, right? But you get paid. If you get paid on the front end, somebody's buying your book, somebody's buying your course for a few $100s, you're more motivated and you're more inspired to go out there and serve people at a better rate, right? You're
Hmm.
getting that money and it's coming back to you. You can put more marketing so you can get more clients, more clientele, more leads, right? So that's one of those things that I help solve as a person. I help you create products as a real estate professional, right? I don't want you just out there serving, because people will take advantage, right? You're out there, you're trying to serve and provide for people, and some of them are going to just take advantage. What
Yeah.
if you don't have to do that? What if you could get paid for your information and your knowledge? And that's one of the problems that we help solve. So I appreciate you bringing that up and talking about the importance of payment. Like you need one of those payment gateways, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, all of the things that Bill just mentioned. And that's one of the things that we help you set up. With that,
Hmm.
my favorite, so the name of my podcast, I've been going up and down switching the name of the podcast, but it's called the Real Estate Marketing Podcast, right? So marketing is highly important. One of the things that you mentioned, right, in the simplest terms, you mentioned marketing. You said you have to be found, right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good it is, how good your service is. It doesn't matter how great your personality is if nobody knows about you. So you need to be found, which is a part of marketing. So could you give us your perspective on people being discovered and found so they can provide people with their product or service?
It's critical. Probably job number one is to be found for your topic. First off, you got to know what it is that you want to be found for,
Mhm.
so that you can focus on the getting the right words associated with you. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to keep this general because many people listening may not be into websites and into marketing online. But the truth is, everything nowadays is a search engine, Google,
Mhm.
um, whatever. If they can't look your name up and find you somehow, then you may as well be invisible.
Mhm.
And um, I spent a lot of time in the last few years trying to study marketing. In fact, I went back to school just a few years ago to get a degree in entrepreneurship and business administration. So, so that I could learn these things. But I'll tell you, many of the things that I learned in marketing were more recent and better when I sought out instruction online to find, you know, my mentor, my coach, my course that focused on just the one aspect that I was really struggling with at the time. It was much easier than waiting several semesters to get to the right course. So anyway, um, bring me back around to the topic, Jerome. So to your question.
Yeah, so I just want you to give your perspective, like what you have. You've given some. Like I want you to talk about the importance of marketing. Like you said,
Hmm.
if you're not being found, you might as well be invisible. This you
Yeah.
said number one, which I absolutely agree with. Marketing is the most important part of your business. Um, I've seen some people that have like terrible products and they do well because people know about them. And I've
Yeah.
seen some people with amazing products and they don't do anything because no one knows about them. I've seen some people with amazing personalities and they don't do anything because people don't know about them. I see some people with snobbish, weak,
Hmm.
weird personalities do well because people know about them. And that all comes down to the marketing. So I just wanted you to expand on that and talk about the
Yeah.
importance of that, the importance of investing in marketing. Like you said, we have a common mentor, Doug.
Hmm.
He helps us learn how to market and implement marketing into our business. So
Yeah. It's amazing how many aspects of your business are touched by marketing, by how you present yourself, the common theme of your business. And um, if you're a real estate investor, okay, maybe your one thing is multifamily homes. Okay, if you spend a lot of time marketing yourself as a general real estate person, you're kind of defeating your purpose, because the one thing you do really well is multifamily homes. And so um, everything that you put up about yourself, either on business cards or on however you choose to reach your people, should let them know within a second of looking at it that you're into multifamily homes, or that's your investment vehicle of choice. So it's really important that you be direct, and you be focused on your one superpower, your one area of expertise. That's the real um, way to get there faster.
Thank you. I'm brand new, right? And
Mhm.
I'm like, you know what? I heard Jerome, heard Bill, they're talking about marketing. How do I get started? What's the shortcut to implement marketing into my business so I'm known for my product or my service?
Well, you got to educate yourself. Probably one of the fastest ways that I know to do it is to read any of the three trilogy books that Russell Brunson puts out.
Okay.
Um, .com secrets, expert secrets, and traffic secrets. He handles three of the main elements of marketing there. First is, how does the internet work? That's .com secrets.
Mhm.
The second book, expert secrets, tells you, okay, now here's how the folks who are experts like Jerome
And Bill,
go thank you, go about doing business. And then traffic secrets, how do you get people to see you? How do you get people to come through your experience? And those three books are very good books. I have not read your book yet, um, but yours is an implementation book, and I gotta believe that will be a huge shortcut, because it's about how to do the actual thing, to implement it, to put it into work. So I'm looking forward to reading that.
absolutely. Thank you, Bill. And just so you, as well as the audience, has a little bit of context. I was in this business and I was helping people like mark. I was like, oh man, I've realized I was like the most important part of business is marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I found out I was like, you know what? Like most people are marketing. Like most really, like once they understand that marketing is important, they go do some of it, but they don't do it consistently. So the name of the book now is Real Estate Marketing Implementation. But before that was the name of it, it was called remarketing. And it was a play on remarketing and retargeting, like
Mm.
following up with leads. Like that's probably the biggest thing that real estate, like after marketing, that's the biggest thing. That's where they fail the most. They don't follow up. They might follow up once or twice, then they forget to follow up. And they're like, oh, you know what? This business doesn't work. And, they go out of the business. It said 87% go out of the business within 5 years. And a
Mm.
big part of it is because they're not marketing, they're not following up. And again, like I was saying a little bit earlier, you don't have to be like amazing. You just have to be there. You have to be consistent. I heard there's this what's called the familiarity principle, and people will do business with you just because you show up, just because you're familiar, not because you're some amazing agent or some amazing entrepreneur. It's just because you show up and you're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where most people fail. Like I meet a lot of amazing talent, but they're not consistent. They're not top of mind and they're not showing up. And that's the foundation of the book. Make
Yeah.
sure you follow up, make sure you retarget so, people know who you are. You don't have to be good. You just have to be there. So
Yeah. You know, one thing that you brought up makes me wonder about your systems, because we haven't really talked about systems in this, but you have to have a way of doing the same thing over and over again and
mhm.
not missing this step. What kind of systems do you use in your implementation to keep track and follow up with your clients?
So me, like I do like several, right? And that's like most times, sometimes people, they try to do like everything at once, right? But you start small. And a really good example of me starting small is like I have my books over here on the side. And I started small. When I first published my book, it was really thin, right? Right now, the book is kind of thick. You can kind of see
Mm-hmm.
it. But I got something out there first. So to answer your question, the bottom line is the system that I have is I have a follow up system and I make sure I follow with the person that was interested in whatever that I sold, the course or the book, I make sure I follow up with them at least once per month. And it's very simple. It is so that system, like I have different systems, but my favorite system right now by far, because of all of the online stuff and because people are so overrun with information, is a newsletter system. So they come in, they buy a book, they buy a course, and then I'll send them a monthly newsletter. And the thing is, it's not a digital newsletter. It is a physical print newsletter that I'm sending them once a month. And it incorporates things that they appreciate, such as I have games inside of there, jokes, and like other stuff, not just business stuff, and people appreciate it. And it's one of those things that separates me. So that's like my favorite system. You send out, they purchase your product, they purchase your book, they purchase whatever. You send a couple of follow-up emails, a couple of follow-up letters, but long term, you're following up with them at least once per month with some newsletter, and you're informing them what's going on in your world, and you're giving them important information. So that's probably my favorite follow-up system because nobody's doing it, right? I always ask the question, like, how many unread emails are in your inbox? And people, thousands, tens of thousands, like there's so many emails. And I'm like, how many newsletter, like how much physical mail do you get? And it's typically not over 50 that they get, like each. So that's my favorite system.
I'm so glad that you said that, because when I originally got started, I was doing direct mailing. That was how folks found it. I had a catalog that I advertised with my model airplane kits that I would send them. I think they paid $1 for it. And I would go out to the mailbox and I would pull out envelopes with dollar bills in them. Folks, were doing that. But it's very difficult for somebody not to pay attention to something that they receive in the mail, particularly if it's oddly shaped. But that's another story. We won't get that deep into the Dream 100 thought process.
It is another story, but that's part of the reason why people are like, Jerome, why do you go take those extra steps and go that extra mile? And it's because of what you said, right? So why an actual book instead of just an ebook? Because it's oddly shaped, like what you just said. It's like 3D mail. People start getting those things and are like, well, what is this that somebody's sending me? And like all that stuff helps your marketing.
Yeah. So you grab the envelope and squeeze it. And you say, okay, what's that?
Yeah,
that was your hook.
Right. Exactly. And what you said, you're like, I like talking about it because most people are not doing it. They're not willing to do it. And it's just a form of marketing. Like when everybody else is doing one thing, you go the other way. And that's like a part of marketing, right? Like you do that. Like I talk to a lot of people, and I just heard, and I'm not going to say I talked to hundreds of thousands of people, but I've asked this question hundreds of times. And most of the time people are like, yeah, no, I don't still receive a physical newsletter in my mail. It's all digital. You just hit the button and you forget it. And that's one of the things that helps me stand out. I send them that newsletter. They can do the crossword puzzles inside of there. There's coupons in there, my products, the podcast episodes that I'm doing, and I'm redirecting them back to the website, or I'm giving them little snippets of information. It's just one of those things that really helps you stand out as a marketing professional, as a real estate agent, as an entrepreneur. It's one of those things.
And here's the reality of the situation. If you send somebody a physical newsletter every month for a year, I don't know what you spend postage wise to get that to them. Let's call it $5 or $10, even if it's $100 to get that physical newsletter to them, and they make one real estate transaction with you. Just one. You so outperform what you spent on it. Your return on investment is going to be so huge. It's a no-brainer. It really is. I mean, forget 10x. You can 100x, 1000x. Whatever your return on investment was.
Exactly what you said. I have a whole class where I teach, and so my costs, I always give perspective. It's like you spend $4 per newsletter, right, on the high side. That's $48 for the whole year. One transaction, like you said, it's like the numbers is like, it's insane. It's over 100. So why not invest that time? Why not do that, right? And one of the cool things, one of the reasons why I like the books and the newsletters is because people don't throw them away. They'll discard your emails, they'll mark it in spam, Gmail moving into the promotions tab, all of this stuff going on, all these forces against you. But the physical newsletters, the physical books, not the same thing. You're not in with you're not in as much competition when you start to do those things. So that's part
Hmm.
of the reason why I do that. And I agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
Most people don't think about it like that. This is an investment, right? We get in business, we want to market, we want to make business, we want to make more customers, we want to close transactions, but you have to think about it as a business. And
Hmm.
$48 for you to get one transaction, right? Which pours over. Like I have another client, her name's Paula. One transaction, she closed one transaction with one family, and that family, off that particular, in her case, she created a video. Off that particular video, she's gotten non-transactions from it.
Hmm.
Non-transactions from that one transaction. So I like people, I always encourage people to start thinking about this another way. They don't throw your book away. Guess what they do? They donate it to another person that might need your services. Same thing with the newsletters. Oh, I'm done with these newsletters. You're looking to buy a house. Here you go. They hand it off. But you don't often see people, hey, I got this email. I'm going to forward you this email, right? I got this
Yeah.
brochure that this person sent me with a bunch of sales stuff. I'm going to forward it to you. The newsletter and the book is a whole different game, and you open up a whole different thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's it's critical. I mean, it's critical that you've got to have something that sticks, something that they will have and hold on
Mhm.
to. And that's the whole secret of marketing, knowing that you can um, be remembered, because there's so much going on, so much information flooding in. Um, and they have to be able to go and search you. And what was that guy's name? Was it started with a J? Something about real estate marketing. Just that little bit. If they can't go out and search and find some trace of you somewhere, then you're
Mhm.
doing it wrong. So yeah.
Absolutely. Bill, tell us one piece of advice you would give someone just starting out. They're brand new. Like, what's a good piece of advice you would give them?
Hmm. Brand new person starting out in my hobby or in real estate. Uh,
Just let's go with
yeah.
yours. Whatever, like entrepreneurship, starting a business
Hmm.
online. With
You know, um, that would be to buy your second machine first.
okay,
I know that sounds kind of weird, but this actually applies. What happens is when somebody is making a buying decision to house, real estate, CNC router, whatever, they go
Mhm.
out and they look and they say, okay, what's the cheapest I can get into this for?
Mhm.
And so they buy an inexpensive house or they buy an inexpensive router table that doesn't have the features that they need, like that second bathroom or, whatever. And so they end up going in that starter house and they have to resell it later on so that they can move up into what it was that they actually wanted. But because they spent all that money and all that time and all that energy doing it the wrong way first, it's wasted opportunity. Wasted opportunity costs them too much. So do the research first and get what actually meets your needs or can be brought up to your needs quickly. Don't get stuck uh, in the trap.
Okay. Next question I have for you. So you mentioned three books earlier,
Mm-hmm.
which we have. I want to get three more books from you, other than those three. So tell us three books you would recommend to the audience and why. Doesn't have to be marketing, does not have to be real estate, just three books and why you would recommend those three books.
One of the books is called The 1 Minute Millionaire. It's the coolest book when it comes to how it was written because uh, it tells you a story on the front of the page and then how to implement what you learned on the back of the page. So if you're a story person, you can just read the front pages and you'll get the entire story from start to finish. But if you're somebody who likes to implement what it is you're learning while you're learning it, you can flip to the backside, do the actual work, and get it done. It's a very good book. I think that's by Alan. Um, another another book that this one's going to be woo woo, but you guys are ready for that. Um, it's called The Answer. A lot of folks, and that one's by John Assaraf and Murray Smith, I believe. A lot of folks have heard about. a book, um, a separate book about implementing. Um, I'm sorry, I lost it for a second. There is a. Let me pull up the book to help me out. Okay, the law of attraction. Folks talk about that all the time. Visualizing what it is that you want and having it become real. This book, The Answer, instead of exposing you to the existence of that phenomena, tells you how to implement its use. And that was totally unusual. These two great entrepreneurs who,
Oh, I get it. The secret,
yeah,
the answer. Okay.
yes, yeah. It's a good book. I'm going to hold up my copy right now.
Okay.
You can see the pages are worn, but it tells you how to go about using this in your business day to day. That's a pretty cool book. A third book, probably for my guys, I would recommend The $100 Startup by Chris
Okay.
Gillibo. Because everything that's written in that book can also apply in real estate. It can apply to anything. It's taking very little of your own money, getting started, doing something to generate cash flow quickly, and then to build that up and to move it on. So, really good book by Chris Gillibo. It's called The $100 Startup.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You gave me. So I asked that question for myself too. I never heard those ones, so I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
The 1 minute millionaire, that's like unique because of the what you said, like the process. The back is
Mm-hmm.
implementation. The front is the story. The
Mm-hmm.
answer, I always knew the secret. I always knew it wasn't the full thing, but I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a book that say, okay, here's the rest of it.
Yeah.
Here's how you do it. And then the $100 startup, never heard that before. So I got 3 new books. While you were talking, I added them to my wish list. So I appreciate you because I get grabbed that for myself as well as
Mm-hmm.
the audience. They can implement that as well. Um, Bill, tell us. Let me see. You listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
What are 3 podcasts you would recommend to the audience and why?
I like Mixergy
Okay.
podcast by Andrew Warner. In fact, that's Russell Brunson's favorite podcast, according to him.
Okay.
Um, I think it's amazing. He gets startup entrepreneurs and he brings them in and they talk about how they got started and what they did to build the business. Um, Another one that I like from a marketing standpoint is the Capitalism podcast, and that one has to do with how to, in their case, generate income through Amazon and Etsy and places like that. So they're using online platforms to generate their income. I don't have a current real estate one to tell you about, but I do have. This third one is going to be a challenge.
Don't
There's
worry
so many
about it.
good ones.
Two,
Yeah,
two is good
yeah.
enough.
2 is good.
Two's
All
good
right,
enough.
cool.
Yep, that's good enough. You
Yeah.
gave us a books and podcast. So, um, let me see. All right. What is one question you wish I had asked you, and how would you have answered?
Hmm. Um, um, I wish you had asked me about using Facebook
Okay.
to market, because I'm very big on creating groups on Facebook and pages. I've got several groups on Facebook of folks who are into these various things that I'm into. Again, this shotgun arrow thing that we heard about in my bio, I have a lot of interest. But I've got a 21,000 member group of woodworkers that are into CNC. I've got another group of
21,000.
yeah,
Man, and so I want to go. If you got time, I would like to
yeah,
talk about that more because
sure.
um, you have time.
I got plenty.
Okay.
I'm at
Yeah,
your
because
disposal.
So we teach a class on like marketing, and we teach like the real estate. We're like, look, you go start your Facebook group and you niche down and you pick a topic and you let people, and people are like, I don't know what to talk about and what to do, and they like have all this perspective on why it won't work and how much time it'll take. So I would love to hear you talk about that a little deeper. Maybe, man, yeah, talk about that, please, please. We
Well,
probably could have did a whole episode on this. Sheesh.
okay. Well, I think everybody's doing it wrong.
Okay.
That's a bold statement. I'm going to have to back it up now.
Mhm.
Everybody who's in marketing tells you, okay, whatever your niche is, whatever the topic is that you're talking about, you go in and you begin marketing, let people know I'm making this group to give you or to sell you information on what that topic is. And I think that's the wrong approach. I think the actual approach is the exchange of information value. Once you've done that, folks will buy from you anytime you have something to offer. So I'm a reseller of CNC software. I've explained earlier what CNC is, and that was difficult to do. There's not very many resellers. That's different from an affiliate marketer. That's different from anybody else. This means that they gave me the stamp of approval that I can sell their product and represent it well. So I do that. And through my group, I've had a lot of sales of that software. But it was because they knew me. They knew I was going to be there. They liked what I was talking about, and they trusted me to deliver what I said. Because of that, my group grew. When we started the group, it was very small. It was maybe 5 or 10 people who I knew were interested in this topic. They recommended other people. That grew it a little bit more, and time changed. But once the algorithms may be different now, but back then, once you hit 50 members in a group, Facebook began to show your group to others in their timeline. Once you hit 100, they showed it to more. If you did rapid growth over a period of time, more. So when Facebook sees people going towards someplace, they make it easier for them to find that place. So if there's an interaction going on between the folks inside that group where they're sharing information and they're talking and they're making comments, that's going to be a lively group. I kept track of the growth of my group, and we in 1 year of this group. Now it took years to build it up to 20,000+ members, but in 1 year we went from just under 1,000 members to 4,000. So it jumped, and that was because of the interaction between the people. Also, didn't hurt that I started a podcast right about then. But the podcast always pointed back to the Facebook group because that's where I wanted people to go, because that got them into my ecosystem, kept them in my ecosystem, and kept me in the front of their mind. So the YouTube channel, same thing. I have YouTube videos. They point folks back to the Facebook group and to the websites, which all share the same name that I have in my podcast, the CNC Router Tips Podcast. Well, that's the name of my group on Facebook, CNC Router Tips. So, folks are able to find me. That's part of that marketing, part of that branding that we were briefly discussing earlier. So I just think people were doing it wrong. If your first motive is to sell something, then you're doing it wrong. Give, then sell.
I appreciate that because I've done it wrong. I know I've done it. I know I'm still doing it wrong currently. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just providing value, but I'm not really encouraging the social interaction. Like everyone in here, you should be participating, and like it's like an even exchange. The members communicate, and that's what helps it grow. So I appreciate you sharing that. And my objective, based on what we talked today, is to make sure that I make it more interactive versus like
Hmm.
one way me communicating and trying to sell something, whether it's ideas or money or a product. It doesn't matter. Like there needs to be, it's a group. So there should
Yeah,
be a group activity and a community aspect to it, which I don't have. So I appreciate you sharing that.
it's funny. Folks identify with the group over time. They start thinking of themselves as belonging
Hmm.
to the. Yes, they're already a member of the group, but they actually have a feeling of belonging. Um, you'll know that your group is really going good when you can sell swag with your group name on it. Just happen to have one. Uh, and people buy it because they feel that they want to be part of it. And that's the highest compliment you can get. I do not know whether wealth is in the future for me. I do not know whether, crazy things are, but I do know that the folks that I um, interact with about CNC are my people, and they will go out of their way to help me, and I will go out of my way to help them. That's it. That's what you're shooting for, to make a mark in your community. That's
Thank you for sharing that, Bill. After hearing that, you are entirely too humble. I think that's some amazing marketing right there. That's some amazing marketing and branding. 21,000, and the way you said it is like, no, it's not all about like what you can do. It's about the group and interaction. And I always tell people, I'm like, this is social media. Like, don't forget
Mhm.
about the social part. Like, I have other, like, when I really sit here and think about it, I got like several groups, but those groups grow because of the social activity inside of it. It's
Mhm.
not because of like, yeah, I'll do some promoting, but it's growing fast because of the social interactions inside of the group.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, if folks are thinking about you during the day or what you
Mhm.
talked about, then you're doing it right. Um, that's all.
All right. Thank you, Bill. How can someone add immediate value to you or your business?
Hmm. If they know somebody who wants to know more about CNC, send them to the group on Facebook, and we'll put a link in it. But if they look up the hashtag CNC router tips on Facebook, that will bring them into our area, and we'll be able to help them. And that's the most immediate value. Folks who really want to learn. I mean, we didn't even talk about the crossover between CNC and real estate as far as home restorations and things like that.
Oh, you got to come back.
You got that old Victorian house, and you need that one piece of cornice in the top corner to match the old one. You can do that with a CNC, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Okay, Bill, this was fun. How can we add? See, like people always say, like, "Oh, I'm not in real estate, so I can't bring perspective to your podcast." And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. And this has been like, it's such a different. You come from such a different field, and you bring such different perspectives. Like even those books that you gave me, I'm like, man, I never heard those books. Usually, I get the people that are in real estate, and they give me. I'm like, oh yeah, I read that one, that one, that one. Then you come in with like these different perspectives that really helps. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could have told you about the times when I was sitting there reading the old Dave Delgado books way back in the day, but you know, um, it's not relevant now or as relevant.
Yeah. Think. How can someone add long-term value to you or your business?
That's a that is a tough question. Long term value. Um, Listen to an episode of the podcast, the CNC Router Tips podcast. It may not be exactly what you think you need, but I interview a lot of people and talk about their stories, and that is really where it comes in cool. Hearing about the the one guy who survived the Katrina hurricane and then built a business with his CNC router table to help him uh, help others. Another guy who is ex-Marine. Well, you're never an ex-Marine, who was in the Marine Corps, who built a system where he's helping other veterans to, by making things with his machine and helping them set up things that they can make things themselves. And he has an entire group of people going all around the Louisiana area helping folks. Or, there's just so many different stories. I think you'd enjoy it. Check it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have a mentor, and it's like always the best ideas come from another industry. Like you find out what somebody else is doing relevant to irrelevant to your industry, and you implement it into your industry, and it makes a difference. Like I was just telling you, those books, never heard of those books, and some of the other ideas you gave me, like I'm like, oh, great, like I can do that. So
I can't wait to hear what your 3 books are.
3 books that I would recommend.
Oh yeah,
man. It depends, but I normally go. I don't even go real estate. I go like, what's your personality like? So I like to give personality books, which are traction. It helps you understand like how you'll thrive in business, like if you're a visionary or integrator. I always talk about Surrounded by Idiots, which is another book that teaches like how do you operate around other people, and then psycho-cybernetics.
Oh
because
yeah, Ron
people,
Hubbard, I think.
psycho Maxwell Maltz.
Maxwell Maltz,
People always, they don't understand the importance. They like just want to get in business, and it's like business is a lot of self-discovery and self-exploration. And once you do that and you understand that, then you can go out and start to work for other people and implement things, learn marketing, learn real estate, CNC route, whatever you want to learn. You have to like know who you are as an individual first. So those are the books that I typically recommend, which people probably already heard, but they're relevant. So Bill, if you could close us out with one word, no explanations, what word would that be?
Focus.
All right, Bill, this has been excellent. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your time today. And I'm telling you, you brought like a much different perspective versus like some of the other guests that I get. So I was glad to have you. I was like, how are we going to make this CNC stuff turn into real estate? But we figured it out. It was very relevant. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I had a blast.
All right. I'm going to close this out. I want you to sit here and we'll catch up in the green room.
Sounds great. All right.